Playing video games is one of the most common pastimes of this generation. In the Philippines, there are events such as the ESGS and GameCon PH that are widely attended. Esports is also on the rise as several Filipino players get recognized as they win international competitions. Even the Philippine government recognizes high-level esport players as they now have been acknowledged as bona fide athletes and even have athletic licenses. The 2019 Southeast Asian Games, which will be held in the Philippines this December, will also feature esports as a medal event. It will be the first time that esports will be recognized as a medal event in a multi-sport competition that is sanctioned by the International Olympic Committee. This is after the discipline featured as a demonstration sport in the 2018 Asian Games in Jakarta, Indonesia. But back in 1981, things were totally different. During the rise of arcade hits such as Space Invaders and Asteroids, something happened that forced video gaming to go underground.
Hi, I'm Zach, and this is GG Fist Bump. Today we'll be talking about the Philippine video game ban of 1981. Let's try to find out what happened. But before we move on, click on subscribe, then hit that notification bell to stay up to date with my latest videos.
In the US, the period from the appearance of Space Invaders in 1978 through the great video game crash of 1983 is often known as the golden age of arcade games. 8-bit arcade video games emerged to rule popular culture, and coin-operated video arcades appeared in every shopping mall. Aside from Space Invaders, iconic games from this era include Asteroids, Pac-Man, Defender, Galaga, Donkey Kong, and Centipede. Now over 8,000 miles away, a former US colony is experiencing something radical in its society.
My countrymen, as of the 21st of this month, I signed Proclamation number 1081, placing the entire Philippines under martial law. This proclamation was to be implemented upon my clearance, and clearance was granted at 9 o'clock in the evening of the 22nd, last night. I have proclaimed martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President by the Constitution of the Philippines.
Martial law was declared in 1972 by then President Ferdinand E. Marcos, and it came with a lot of restrictions. One of them were the banning of video games. Manila, Philippines. The Philippines pulled the plug Friday on Space Invaders, Asteroids, and thousands of other video games to stop the devilish contraptions from corrupting the morals of the young. President Ferdinand E. Marcos ordered the estimated 3,000 coin-operated games dismantled, destroyed, or surrendered to the military within 15 days. Failure to do so could net operators a $620 fine and up to 12 years in prison. The Telegraph, November 21st, 1981. Back in 1974, Marcos issued Presidential Decree 519, which outlawed and nullified the permits and licenses of pinball and slot machines, as well as other similar devices. He cited that these gambling devices adversely affects the moral regeneration program of the government under the new society, especially the youth.
Now, video games do not really fall under gambling devices, so arcades still continue. Video game arcades started to boom just like in the US, and it encaptured the youth.
Seeing that it can be detrimental to the morality of the young, conservative parents, teachers, and civic groups had several complaints to the government so that it can take action. These groups claimed that games such as Space Invaders and Asteroids were a destructive social enemy, the electrical bandit, that was weakening the moral fiber of the young and turning them into a generation of obsessives. Marcos responded to the pressure from these groups and in November of 1981, released the Letter of Instruction number 1176. These classified video games as similar devices mentioned in Presidential Decree 519. To quote, "Whereas the operation and maintenance of video machines as a prohibited or gambling device or contrivance tends to corrupt the children or other youth of school age and encourages juvenile delinquency, drug addiction, petty thievery, lying, and gambling instinct, which may lead to idleness, economic waste, and dislike for work. Whereas I consider video machines within the classification of similar contrivances under Letter of Instruction number 9 and other devices in PD 519. I, Ferdinand E. Marcos, President of the Philippines, by virtue of the powers vested in me by the Constitution, do hereby declare jackpot machines, commonly known as one-armed bandits, pinball machines, slot machines, video machines, and similar devices as prohibited and or gambling devices and contrivances, and do by hereby order and direct that you forthwith take over or cause the taking over of the possession of said devices wherever they may be found, and to completely destroy or cause the destruction of the same. With the ban, violators can face a fine of $600 or 12 years in jail if these machines were destroyed within 2 weeks. Harrison Plaza Shopping Mall, the usual din of more than 100 screeching, buzzing, and beeping machines were silenced. Crews removed rows of computerized shooting galleries and a variety of tabletop screens.
A supervisor at an arcade at Harrison Plaza said that the president's action came as a surprise. Operators expected some kind of regulations to keep these machines, valued at $2,000 each, away from schools, but not a total ban.
The Filipino youth were exasperated. An unidentified teenager was quoted in the Manila Daily Express saying, "My God, it's the computer age. What do parents expect us to do? Play cops and robbers?" So they moved their video gaming underground, gathering in backs of stores for some space-age diversion from their daily realities.
Now the parents' complaints were not without basis. Some really did skip out on school to hang out at the arcades. Time spent on gaming could have been spent on studying or other worthwhile things.
And in fairness, there were also illegal video game arcade machines such as a Video Carrera, which survive up to this day. Well, at least Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno confiscated and crushed these machines in his city recently.
The president's decree seemed to target video game arcades specifically, as it cancelled and withdrew the permits and licenses of establishments carrying these video game machines. So if that would be applied today, there would be no Time Zone, Quantum, Worlds of Fun, or Q-Power Station. Now how about home consoles?
Back in the day, there were actually Atari 2600 consoles in the Philippines, as well as the handheld Nintendo Game & Watches that were for sale in a few import stores. They weren't official releases to the country, so these were priced really high. And if parents viewed these as devilish contraptions that made their children less productive, that meant that a lot of people didn't have access to these gaming devices. It was definitely cheaper for young people to play and hang out in the arcades. It wasn't until the People Power Revolution of 1986 that the ban was lifted. Just as the Nintendo Entertainment System entered the American market and captured its target audience a year prior, its Japanese counterpart, Family Computers or Famicoms, was now made very affordable and gained popularity to the Filipino consumers. The Famicom, Sega Mega Drive, and the Game Boy were available left and right at big malls. The rest, they say, was history.
And with that, I think we're done. If you found this video interesting or entertaining, please like and subscribe to my channel, then hit on that notification bell for more content. Again, I'm Zach, and this is GG Fist Bump.
Want to know why the PSP is more popular than the Nintendo DS in the Philippines? Check out my Philippine retrospect of the PSP. And for more gaming related vlogs, keep it locked in at GG Fist Bump.